Okay, everybody, we're going to look at graphing lines that are in slope-intercept form and how to do it, okay? We'll have two videos. One will be on graphing lines in slope-intercept form. The other one will be graphing lines in slope-intercept form with negative slopes, okay? So for graphing lines in slope-intercept form, let's review. Slope-intercept looks like this. It's a form of the equation where you have the variable y, then you have equals, and then you have m times x plus b. And m and b are important numbers. M represents the slope of the line, and b represents the y-intercept. Okay, so let's see what that means. What that means is that, first of all, whatever number you see multiplied by x is the slope. Okay, so we're going to do a problem in a minute which has y equals 5/3 x minus 2. Okay? So the slope is going to be what's multiplied by the x here. So the slope will be 5/3, and I'll write m equals 5/3. Okay? So the m is the slope and b is the y-intercept. In order for this to work right, you have, in order this to follow these steps I'm going to show you, it's easiest if you can identify the x term immediately. If the x, see, look, you could write this as y equals b plus mx, okay? And the x term is still m times x, okay? So usually I like to write them in this form, mx plus b, so that I always remember which one came first. But if they wrote it this way, how will you know? You'll know because the x term, the term with the x in it, comes at the end of the equation. And then you can either flip it around. If they're both added together, you can just say mx plus b. Or you can just remember that this is m, the slope, and this is b, the intercept. Now let's see what those mean, though. So the slope tells us something about how much the incline or the slope of the line is. Is it a steep incline or a very low incline, and so forth? It's positive or negative. And the y-intercept is where does this line, once it's drawn, cross the y-axis. So we know the y is vertical, the x is horizontal, and the crossing on the y-axis is called the y-intercept, and we represent it with the small letter b. Okay? So in the equation here, y equals 5/3 x minus 2, all we have to do is identify that the slope is 5/3 and the y-intercept is negative 2. Here are the steps. Whoops. Equals negative 2. So here are the steps. 1. Plot the y-intercept on the y-axis. So we'll find b equals negative 2. Start at 0, 1, 2. We're there. That's negative 2. That's the first point on the line. Okay? Now we can use the slope. Now sometimes when we use slope, in fact almost every time, I suggest that students write next to the slope the rise over the run. And that's because this is how the slope is defined. How much do you go up between 2 points and how much do you go over? So if you have a fraction, it's real easy. The rise here from this point to the next point would be up 5 because it rises 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're not going to put a dot there. We're just going to hold our pen there and see that the run, that means how far do we go over to the right or left, is going to be 3. Since it's positive, we're going to go in the positive x direction and come 3 points here. So we go 5 up, and we went 3 over. And so this is the second point. Now all we have to do is draw a line through those points. Graphing is an activity that we're going to use in math a lot. We're going to use it through our whole mathematical career, whether it's just in geometry or trigonometry, even up into pre-calculus and so forth. So it's very helpful to know how to graph properly. Okay, so that's all we're doing on graphing lines from linear equations that are in slope-intercept form. In our next video, we'll look at a negative slope. See you then.